So if you can't handle the training, which we train as hard as we possibly can in preparation for war. I actually have a buddy named John Caluce from Massapequa over in Long Island.
Yeah. What's the most intense swimming base or diving base portion of buds? And like what if you're allowed to talk about that?
Yeah,
like,
of course.
Like what do you have to do in that?
Well, I would say the at one point there's this sort of pass or fail thing you have to do. It's a 5-mile open ocean swim. The first 2 miles of it are timed, then the last 3 miles are just to completion.
Yeah.
So that's definitely just it's sort of a one-time thing that you have to do. But I would say it's different for each guy. I mean, obviously there's the drown proofing where you tie your hands and your feet, and they're not wrapping your hands and your feet with something like Velcro. So if you panic, it'll come undone. Like, no, if you panic, the knot's only going to get tighter. So you're physically tied and thrown into the deep end of the pool. So that gets some guys. I think another thing that mentally I saw multiple guys quit before doing the 50-meter underwater swim. They didn't even want to attempt it. Guys who had trained for months or even years to get to SEAL training. You have to swim 50 meters underwater on a single breath hold, and you have to jump in, do a front flip, and then start swimming. You can't kick off the wall. When you get to the far end of the pool, you're allowed to, at 25 meters, you're allowed to kick on your way back. You're allowed to kick off that far wall. But there were guys that were like, yeah, I'm not going to make it through that tomorrow, so I'm just going to quit today. And so they were so afraid of it because every single class that I know of, guys are going unconscious during that 50-meter swim. Guys are getting shallow water blackout, and it's terrifying, right? Because you're basically your brain and your body, you feel like you're committing suicide in a way when you're that deprived of oxygen and air and stuff like that. So the key is just to stay calm. You have the physical ability to do it if you've trained for it. It's actually not all that difficult. Guys psych themselves up before they jump in the water. So your heart rate's high and your stress levels are high, and therefore you're just depleting your oxygen and guys are passing out.
Yeah.
For something that's relatively innocuous, you should be able to do it if you've trained at that point to be a SEAL.
How, like, you hear about these things that they teach the Navy SEALs and within Special Forces specifically, where it could be something like, you'll see some viral tweets talking about how a Navy SEAL is trained to fall asleep in 2 minutes, or you'll see something.
Oh, those are, yeah.
Yeah, so some of those seem fake to me, but the ones about being able to reduce panic, when I've read those make a lot of sense to me. Is there a point, like, does that type of training come later versus like in buds, they're just trying to throw you through the ringer to see what you can take and hopefully make it through? Or during buds, are you getting any training on like, hey, you're going to be doing X, Y, and Z. There could be, for example, a sense of panic setting in. Here's how you deal with that. Here's what we expect you to be able to do and go on. Or once again, does that come later?
When I was going through SEAL training through buds, there was zero, and I mean zero, support from the staff. They were there to see who has it already. They were not sitting there going like, hey guys, so this, today is going to be a mentally challenging day. I want you to think through this. I want you to think about your goals. Like, why are you here? Before no, it's none of that. It was they were aggressively trying to make your life as miserable as possible. Later on in training, they would do very, very occasionally. They would have like a command, like a former like master chief or something who's like a really experienced guy, usually like Dev Gru, like SEAL Team 6 guys, like old school guys, and they would come in and they would occasionally do like a talk to the group. Once you've already made it through Hell Week, they might talk to you a little bit, just sort of about mindset and some stuff like that. But for the most part, I mean, no. So for me, I have never seen one of those tweets or those videos where like, here's the 3 things the SEALs do to whatever. Right. Anytime one of those comes across, my feed, I look at it, and every single time I want to comment, yeah, that doesn't happen. Maybe it does now, but I was like, no, that doesn't. Like nobody, like, oh, you need to do this like box breathing technique. You need to do this, and this is what all the SEALs are trained. And I never saw it.
Some
ever.
of them seem like the 4-minute abs or whatever, like when you see that. But then there's others, like some of the psychological stuff. I'd love, like, next time I get one in my feed, I'll send it to you. You tell me if it's bullshit or not.
Yeah.
But like some of them make sense in the sense that you're like, Well, yeah, they get thrown into a situation like this. They better know how to handle that.
Mm-hmm.
But
I would say a lot of the advice that's in those tweets or in those posts and things, a lot of that advice is probably really solid. I'm like, yeah, I was never actually taught that as a SEAL.
I see.
Now, don't get me wrong, there might be at a particular SEAL team, they might bring in like someone to kind of talk to the team about that. So I'm not saying that stuff never gets taught or in different areas, but yeah, like with us, like during my time, that never really happened. Yeah.
What year was this when you were doing Buds?
I went through Buds in 2011.
Okay.
So graduated high school 2010. Buds was in 2011.
So you're 18 years old at this point while you're going through this.
Yeah.
You make it through Buds. The guys that you graduated with, are you close with a lot of them to this day?
No, but that's because we all went to different teams. So when you graduate Buds, you still have 6 more months of SEAL training, and then you end up getting assigned to a SEAL team. So your whole group of trainees, you just get shotgunned out to the 4 winds to wherever they need guys within the teams. And so like I was put into a platoon with literally nobody that I knew. So like I was put in my first SEAL platoon.
What team?
The Team 1, West Coast team. So I was put into a platoon. I didn't know a single guy there. Whereas all the other guys in my class, they were put into a platoon with at least 1 or 2 other guys that they knew from training. So so that was kind of odd. But yeah, like guys that I served with and in the platoons, that's where you really start to develop those bonds and have sort of that family level connection with those guys.
But you get there, you're basically a kid. You're not showing up with anyone else from your class, and you got all these hardened, badass Navy SEALs. What's that like to walk in that room for the first time?
It's a little intimidating for sure, and then it also kind of depends on the culture of the platoon that you're walking into. So the platoon that I first went to, very sort of like over the top, like aggressive, macho. It was a platoon that was slated to go to Afghanistan. Which is great. And that's where I wanted to be. But yeah, so like you just have these different personalities, and then some dudes, they like just love to mess with the new guys, but other platoons, like they're more like mentors, and then some platoons it's more like just beat on the new guys, kind of thing. So I was in the one that was more like beat on the new guys, like hate on the new guys. So it is what it is, kind of luck of the draw where you end up. But yeah, so it's definitely strange walking in there because you want to prove yourself to those guys. And it's interesting going in there, and you know that half the guys in that room have killed people. You know that most of these guys have been in combat, and they've proven themselves. And no matter how much training you've been through, there's always that little voice in the back of your head. You're like, I don't know how I'm going to react when the first bullet goes past my head. Right? I don't know how I'm going to react. I hope I do the right thing. But you want to prove that. So you kind of have this inferiority complex because you're like, I have yet to prove myself. Even though you've been through SEAL training, none of that matters ultimately, because now this is my family. I'm with these guys for the next 2 years. We're going to do 18 months of training together for a 6-month deployment. So that's our 2-year cycle. And I have to earn my place within the platoon. And, of course, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to, you're not even guaranteed to stay in that platoon. If you really, really screw up, they'll kick you out. Just because you become a SEAL doesn't mean you get to stay a SEAL. I think there was 2 or 3 guys from my graduating SEAL class. They were kicked out within a couple months at their SEAL team. Yeah.
For what kinds of things?
Well, the standards increase when you get to your team. So you make it through SEAL training, and it's like, cool, man, that's great. You sort of like check the box. Cool, you're part of the team now, but you got to earn your spot. Like I said, there's another 18 months of training, and it's like the house runs, like room clearances get faster. The lights go out. We're doing live fire. There's a real grenades and real bombs, and we're jumping out of real helicopters. Like this whole thing is it's like no joke. And guys die in training. So if you can't handle the training, which we train as hard as we possibly can in preparation for war. I actually have a buddy from named John Calouse from Massapequa over in Long Island. Yeah. He was killed in training right after we got to our SEAL teams. He was an East Coast guy. He was killed in a vehicle rollover. He was a machine gunner on a Humvee overturned because they were doing nighttime, like a nighttime practice assault on a target. Vehicle hit a ditch, flipped over, and killed him. And he hadn't even deployed yet. So yeah, it's no joke. And so if you're not up to par, they have no problem. They'll cut you loose. They don't care that you're technically a Navy SEAL at that point because you're really not So in the eyes of Navy SEALs, like you're not really a Navy SEAL until you've completed one deployment, and then at that point you're sort of, at that point you at least have a little bit of respect.
There's a great quote from the show Mad Men in season 2 or 3. The guy Roger, you ever see that show?
I think I've watched like the first season. I think maybe a while back. Yeah.
So you have the premise. It's about 1960s advertising agency, but one of the owners of the agency, Roger Sterling, after they land a huge account, like this enormous company signed with them, I forget what company, everyone walks out of the room and it's just him and Don Draper, and Sterling says something like, well, the day you get a count is the first day you start losing them. And that always dawned on me because that is what it is, right? Like you get a win and then it's like, how long can you even hold on to this? And so for the Navy SEALs or something this high level, it's like, all right, you're a professional, but now you're a professional every single day. And the day you're not the full professional we want you to be, you're gone.
Right.
Immediately. Right. Like no questions asked. And I understand why as there's an ambulance going out back, but we're good. Okay. I understand why that's the standard again, because like we talked about 10, 20 minutes ago, it's like, well, you guys are the highest level warriors, so this is the expectation. If you guys are going to be called in to do the Bin Laden mission or something like that, it better not be someone who's fucking up things in training. That's just how it is. Guys, if you're still watching this video and you haven't yet hit that subscribe button, please take 2 seconds and go hit it right now. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing too is
thank you guys for checking out this clip. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe and hit the like button on this video. It is a huge, huge help. And if you'd like to check out this clip's full podcast episode, that link is in the description below or right here. And finally, you can follow me on Instagram and X by using the links in my description below.